Hello. The following is an ethical analysis of the film Margin Call by Mofeed, Alex, and Trey. The following slide is a trailer for the film.
This is the trailer for the video.
Mr. Dale, these are extraordinary times, as you very well must know.
I don't understand.
The majority of this floor is being let go today.
Eric, I'm very sorry.
I was working on something, but they wouldn't let me finish it. So, take a look at it. Be careful.
Hello? I need you guys to come back up here.
Wait a second.
Just trust me, okay? I need you guys back here now.
Wait a minute. What am I looking at? This figure here.
Whoa, is that...
It gets ugly in a hurry.
Is that figure right?
Looks pretty right to me.
There are $8 trillion of paper around the world relying on that equation.
But we were wrong.
No, you mean you were wrong.
Sir, if those assets decreased by just 25%, that loss would be greater than the current market capitalization of this entire company.
How long would it take to clear that from our books?
You cannot be doing what you're thinking of doing.
Sell it all. There.
You're selling something that you know has no value.
So that we may survive. There are three ways to make a living in this business. Be first, be smarter, or cheat.
Look at these people wandering around with absolutely no idea what's about to happen.
You're a very important piece of this puzzle. Are you in on this?
I can tell you that people are going to say some very nasty things about what we do here today.
If we're going down, and you damn well know we'll be together.
I'm not sure that I do know that.
The ground is shifting below our feet.
Remember this day, boys. Remember this day.
Here's some facts about the film. It was directed and written by J.C. Shendor. It was released in September of 2011. Some of the starring actors in the film are Zachary Quinto, Stanley Tucci, and Kevin Spacey. It was produced with an estimated budget of $3.5 million, and it falls into the drama category. The main characters in the film are played by Kevin Spacey, Jeremy Irons, Demi Moore, Paul Bettany, Stanley Tucci, Zachary Quinto, Simon Baker, and Penn Badgley. Kevin Spacey plays the character of Sam Rogers. He is the head of the sales and trading at the unnamed firm in the film. Throughout the film, he struggles with the moral conflict concerning whether he should follow his moral compass and get out before it all comes crashing down, or to take the money and follow the company's unethical decision to dump its worthless assets on unknowing investors and destroy the financial markets for years. He ultimately chooses the money. Jeremy Irons plays the character of John Told, the CEO and chairman of the board of the firm in the film Margin Call. Told makes the ultimate decision to defraud the stockholders and prevent the company from taking on monumental losses. Paul Bettany plays the character of Will Emerson in the film. He is the leader of all the stock traders at the firm. He is the first executive to discover the error in the trading algorithm and the impending volatility in the markets. After finding this out, he notifies Sam Rogers. Demi Moore plays the character of Sarah Robertson. She is the Chief Risk Management Officer at the firm. She is also the one that the CEO told Tabs is the one to take the fall for the impending crisis. Stanley Tucci plays the character of Eric Dale, a risk management executive at the firm before he's let go. He was the first to discover the error in the firm's trading formula and the firm's upcoming meltdown. Before being escorted off the premises by security, he hands off his unfinished work to Peter Sullivan with the warning to be careful. Zachary Quinto plays the character of Peter Sullivan, and Penn Bagley plays the character of Seth Bregman. Peter and Seth were both entry-level risk analysts at the firm. Peter is a former rocket scientist who now works at the firm because it pays so much better. Peter is also the one who receives the data from Eric Dale and adds the finishing touches to realize that the firm is in major trouble. Seth is a character who struggles with his upcoming unemployment and suffers a bit of an identity crisis because of it. Here are a few more facts about the film. It premiered at the Sundance Film Festival on January 25th, 2011. It is widely held belief that this film is based on the firm Lehman Brothers on the eve before the financial crisis in 2008. The CEO of Lehman Brothers was Dick Fuld, and the CEO in this movie was named John Told, so you can see the similarities between the names. I will now summarize briefly the plot of the movie Margin Call. The movie is set over a 24-hour period at an unnamed investment bank during the early stages of a financial crisis. It begins with an unannounced mass layoff on the trading floor. One of the employees let go is Eric Dale, a risk management executive at the firm. As Eric Dale is being escorted out of the building, he hands off a USB drive to Peter Sullivan and tells him to be careful. Peter, as a rocket scientist, is able to finish the uncompleted work on Dale's project and realizes that the current volatility in the firm's mortgage-backed securities will soon exceed the historical levels of the positions. He realizes that if the firm's assets decrease by 25% in value, the firm will suffer a greater loss than its entire market capitalization. He knows that this loss is inevitable. After making this discovery, Sullivan alerts his boss, Emerson, who calls the floor head, Sam Rogers. The employees remain at the firm throughout the night for a series of meetings with more and more executives arriving. Cohen, the head of capital markets, and Toll, the CEO, develop a plan for the firm to quickly sell off all of their toxic assets before the market learns that they are worthless. Rogers warns that dumping the firm's assets will spread through the financial sector and destroy the firm's relationships with its counterparties. He contends that this will ruin the financial market for several years to come. After much debate, the firm decides to go through with their plan of selling their toxic assets. The next morning, before trading opens, Sam tells his traders that they will receive a $1.4 million bonus if they are able to achieve a 93% reduction in the firm's mortgage-based securities assets in a fire sale. He also tells them that they're effectively ending their careers by destroying their relationships with their clients. The movie goes on with Emerson closing the positions, but his counterparties becoming suspicious and agitated as the days goes on. Other firms want to know why this firm is dumping all of their assets. After the trading day ends, there is another round of mass layoffs that occurs at the firm. Sam asks Toll to resign, but Told explains that this crisis is no different than any other financial crisis in history. He persuades Rogers to stay at the firm for another 2 years and tells him that there's a lot of money to be made from the crisis. The movie comes to an end with Sam Rogers digging a hole for his dog that died of cancer in his ex-wife's backyard.
The main ethical issues in the movie are that Told and the executive committee decide to sell their toxic assets to their clients in order for them to continue staying in business with them. This is an issue because clients are being sold assets that are worth nothing, thus possibly destroying the financial market and their relationship with their clients forever. As mentioned earlier, there were suspicions that the firm in margin call was in reference to the firm Lehman Brothers. It seems that their financial issues were very similar as well. Lehman Brothers entered into a vulnerable position where a 4% decline in the value of their assets would eliminate its book value of equity. This was similar to the firm in margin call.
These firms were also similar because of the CEO's last names, Told and Fold.
The three ethical theories that we chose to analyze the movie Margin Call were virtue ethics, deontology, and distributive justice. The first ethical theory that we chose to discuss was virtue ethics. Virtue ethics focuses on the moral character of the decision maker rather than the consequences of the action or the motivation of the decision maker. It says that there are many aspects to our personalities, and each of us has a variety of character traits that are developed as we mature emotionally and ethically. The advantage of virtue ethics is that it has a broader view that shows that a decision maker has a variety of traits. When applying virtue ethics to margin call, it seems that almost all of the executives in the movie are lacking virtue ethics because of greed. There was an instance in the movie where a majority of the trading floor was being let go. They were doing this to make more money and not pay as many people. The only issue with that was that they weren't thinking of any other possible consequences. They ended up needing Eric Dale because of the data that he came up with, but they fired him because they needed more money. When applying virtue ethics to the CEO, John Told, it seems that he has no moral character or virtue ethics at all because he knew about the financial crisis but did nothing to stop it. Told did not care about any future consequences and how they could hurt people. He only cared about keeping the company and how it could continue to profit off of the situation. Told has no regard for the financial market or the relationships with his clients that his actions destroyed. John Told has a variety of character traits, but it seems to only focus on the trait of greed.
And his own self-interest.
The next ethical theory that we chose to discuss was deontology. Deontology evaluates the ethicality of behavior based on the motivation of the decision maker. It says an action can be ethically correct even if it doesn't produce a net balance of good over evil for the decision maker or society as a whole. Deontologists focus on the obligations or duties motivating a decision rather than on the consequences of the action. When we apply deontology to margin call, it seems that the CEO of the firm, John Told, evaluated his decision to sell the toxic assets based on his motivation for money. According to deontology, Told was ethically correct because it doesn't matter if his position produces a balance of good or evil for him or society. Told's decision was based on his duty as a CEO to keep his company alive. Therefore, he was only thinking about his own benefits and his own self-interest.
To make more money and keep the company alive.
When we apply deontology to the other executives of the company, it seems as if all of the senior executives argued that deontology could make their actions ethical. For example, Sam Rogers ended up staying with the company because he needed the money, therefore focusing on his duty as the head of sales and trading.
Sam was also acting in the same way as Told for his own self-interest.
The third and final theory that we chose to discuss was distributive justice. Distributive justice states that with justice as fairness, Everyone must cooperate because that is everyone's best interest. Cooperation makes life better for everyone. It also states that greed creates conflicts of interest on how the burdens of society should be allocated. There is a scene in the movie when Sam Rogers and John Told are sitting down at a table. This is the morning after they come up with their solution, and Sam tells Told that he wants out. However, Told does not want Sam to leave. He says that he wants him to remain with him for the next 24 months. He says that this financial crisis is no different than any other financial crisis that has happened in history. He even names off several dates in the past that this has happened before. Sam eventually decides that he will stay with the company, but not because of Told's speech. He needs to stay because he needs the money. He says, even after all of these years, I still need the money. Therefore, Sam stays with the company because it is in his best interest for himself and for the company. It is also in the best interest for him and his family because he needs the money. Therefore, Sam is cooperating because it is in everyone's best interest, even if he is acting unethically.
Resolutions. Deontology. In the film, we see a series of decisions taken in which the root of the decision was a self-advancement, greed, and disregard for the entire web of stakeholders. Thus, from a deontology perspective, the root of many acts in the movie were unethical. A resolution would be to establish a company policy to take into account a stakeholder impact checks when making a decision, as a way to consider all parties affected by corporate measures. The company could have a small department examining random action from the stakeholder perspective. Deontology resolution. Cost. Having a stakeholder impact check department would cost, however, it could save thousands of dollars in fines and PR damage. Legalities. Having such a department would be a great way to self-regulate and prepare the work of a company by preventing unethical actions. Impact. The public would have greater confidence from working with a company that is socially responsible, and employees would be obligated to think about others affected by their action as second nature. Resolutions. Focus on virtue ethics. In the film, virtue ethics would tell us to focus on individual traits and moral characters of the individuals, not in the actions. A resolution would be to examine the moral character of a leadership and the employees. In the film, we see that the organization decision maker did not have a great deal of moral concerns, and their actions were entirely moved by the amount of money they would generate for themselves. They claim to do things for the firm to justify their actions, but in reality they all wanted to just make money for themselves, and that is how management got things done also, by offering them money at every step that needed to be completed. A resolution would be of assessing the moral traits and ethical profit of employees at hire, not to merely focus on past performance sales gain for the firm, because under virtue ethic, the assumption is that if the individuals are people with good moral character, the actions will be ethical. Resolutions focus on virtue ethic. Cost. The hiring process will be more lengthy, and the firm may not be able to attract some talent that perform exceptionally well, but having employees with indicator of good moral would be beneficial. Legalities. The screening for ethical character of applicant must be done with caution to avoid falling into discriminatory territories and tying assumption of religion, ethnic groups acts. Impact. Screening for ethical character of a new hire make a statement to a new associates that the firm accepts ethical behavior from its employees and it gives employees that may have been accustomed to a different company culture to adjust to a new way to do business. Resolutions. Distributing justice. In the film, distributed justice would mandate to ethically allocate benefits in the socially just manner. However, we learn how the leadership of the firm retained large sums of assets while destroying their associate career and taking money from taxpayers. A resolution would be to have a company culture that fairly distributed gain evenly within organization and the community. We see many corporations give percentage of their earning to the community of their vicinity, to hospitals or causes. Also, spreading out bonuses to affect lower level employees is a fair distribution of a firm gain and a good way to reward employees. Resolution. Distributive justice. Cost. Many would argue that compensating upper management is a way to keep good talent in the company. Spreading the wealth of a firm evenly and especially at the bottom where the bulk of the associates are is a challenge and costly. Legalities. A private firm may choose to deviate from the industrious, usually practice to keep big bonus at the top. That would call for a change in a contract of executives. Impact. A firm that practices distributive justice where it matters in a particular way like compensation would allow employees in all levels feel more valued. This would strengthen the emphasis to focus not merely in the individual but in the group in daily operation.
We found a study conducted by Betsy Stevens and Scott Buechler from Elon University titled An Analysis of the Lehman Brothers Code of Ethics and the Role It Played in the Film, published in the Journal of Leadership, Accountability, and Ethics in 2013. It found that Lehman Brothers Code was too generic to guide such complex dealings expected with the financial services institution, merely guarding against committing obvious major breaches of law, but nothing that can guide daily decision-making. Further, they did not find evidence that the code was used as a strategic document and that it had a secondary role in the culture of the company. Our group thought of several recommendations that the company could use. The first that we thought about was if they were already in the situation that they were in, they wouldn't really be able to make an ethical decision that would keep the company alive. So we thought that since several people in the company knew about the problem, such as Sarah Robertson and Eric Dale, that they should have came forward as soon as they realized that the formula and the numbers were not adding up. This would have saved a lot of time, and they would have realized that they had a mistake that needed to be fixed right away. The executive should have
realized early on that there was an issue with the numbers and that it needed to be fixed right away. This would have saved time for them from making an unethical decision that would ruin the market and the relationships with their clients forever.
Our first discussion question for Margin Call is, the CEO of the firm, John Told, played by Jeremy Irons, tells his group of analysts and executives weighing the tough decision to be made that there are 3 ways to make a living in this business: be first, be smarter, or cheat. Is this narrow focus on strictly the impact on the corporation and neglecting the true scope of the decision on a larger scale a commonality among today's corporate CEOs? How could companies change compensation plans to curb such tunnel vision and make them care about the greater impact of their decisions? Our second discussion question for the movie Margin Call is that in the movie, Sam Rogers tells all of the employees on his floor that the firm is collapsing. In order to save the company, Rogers and his team must try to sell their worthless, toxic assets before anyone realizes that they are worthless. He explains to the floor that if they can sell 93% of their assets, they will receive $1.4 million in a bonus. Is it ethical for a business to bribe their employees to sell those toxic assets, or the firm to ask employees to push assets that they know to be worthless? Discuss the ethical dilemma from each perspective. Here is a list of our outside resources that we use to analyze the ethical issues of the movie Margin Call. Thank you for watching our presentation, and we hope that you've learned a lot about business ethics and the movie Margin Call. Thanks for watching. To summarize our presentation, we added one final clip from the movie Margin Call that shows the morning after when Sam is telling the traders what has happened and what will happen. And this is also when he offers them the bonus to make them sell 93% of the sales. This is also in our discussion question number 2.
The party's over as of this morning. There's going to be considerable turmoil in the markets for the foreseeable future. They believe it is better that this turmoil begin with us. As a result, the firm has decided to liquidate its majority position of fixed income MBS today. These are your packets. You will see what accounts you're responsible for today. I'm sure it hasn't taken you long to understand the implications of this sale on your relationships with your counterparties and, as a result, on your careers. I have expressed this reality to the executive committee, and they understand. As a result, if you achieve a 93% sale of your assets, you will receive a $1.4 million one-off bonus. If the floor as a whole achieves a 93% sale, you will get an additional $1.3 million apiece. For those of you who've never been through this before, this is what the beginning of a fire sale looks like. I cannot begin to tell you how important the first hour and a half is going to be. I want you to hit every bite you can find. Dealers, brokers, clients, your mother if she's buying. And no swaps. It's outgoing only today. Obviously, this is not going down the way that any of us would have hoped, but the ground is shifting below our feet. And apparently, there's no other way out. Guys, this is obviously a very, very unique situation. If we are successful today, we will have been successful in destroying our own jobs. I cannot promise that any of you, all of you, some of you will be repositioned within the firm. But I can tell you that I'm very proud of the work that we have done. I've been at this place 34 years. And I can tell you from experience that people are going to say some very nasty things about what we do here today and about what you dedicated a portion of your lives to. But have faith that in the bigger picture, our skills have not been wasted. We have accomplished much, and our talents have been used for the greater good. Here's your packets. Get to work.
To summarize from the movie clip that we just saw was Sam Rogers telling his firm that they were about to lose their jobs because of the deal that they had made and that they were going to sell their toxic assets to their clients. The clients were Thank you for watching the show.